75 to 85 in tax year 23, beginning in tax year 24, that 85 will increase by $5,000 per year, and accordingly, the range of the graduated line of the phase out. The net operating loss carry back, carry forward provisions. 25% of the work opportunity tax credit and employee retention credit subtraction modification or disallowance allowed as a subtraction modification. The utility sales tax for commercial customers and the clarification regarding Washburn, but the utility sales tax is not to include any local option on exempting that sales tax. The child daycare services tax credit effective tax year 2022, and all credit amounts would be shifted to 50%. The retirement plan income subtraction modification, providing for a modification of up to $4,000 for married filing jointly filers and $2,000 for all other filers beginning in tax year 2023. Beginning in tax year 2024, those amounts would be increased by the Internal Revenue Code cost of living adjustment. The elimination of the estimated payment for sales tax remittance. The retail storefront property tax reimbursement provisions that eliminates the $2.5 million revenue cap, makes the maximum benefit on a per storefront per tax year basis, reduces that maximum benefit to $5,000, and provides for the refunds to be paid out of the I'm looking at the American Rescue Plan State Fiscal Relief Federal Fund. And I believe that, and that change would also result in not requiring the counties to pay 1/3 of that amount. The state federal fund, the state fund of the federal fund would pay the entirety of these refunds. And I believe, and we also added a provision granting authority for Atchison County to enact a dedicated sales tax for up to 1% for up to 10 years and could be reauthorized after those 10 years. Okay, for up to 10 years. And I want to check with the revisers on if there would be a specified purpose for that dedicated sales tax in the language.
Thank you, Eddie. Yes, we followed what was in a few of the Senate Bill 87, a few of the other bills. Pulling it up just real quickly, the dedicated sales tax would be for the purpose of financing joint law enforcement communications and solid waste disposal in Atchison County.
So the Atchison County tax would include the same specified purpose as what was formerly going to be the sunsetted tax in SB 87, and that I believe is the last provision.
Okay. Any questions for? That follows my notes.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think we're ready to sign off on, to sign off, apologize.
No, I understand.
I think we're in agreement.
Okay. Eddie, would you mind giving us kind of the package deal fiscal note?
Yeah, I'll give the state general fund, the state highway fund total, and then the all funds total. I do want to caveat that this does not include any specific amount for the work opportunity and employee retention credits or the NOL carry back, carry forward amount. And it also does not include the standard deduction cost of living amount because we are still waiting for those. But the current total is for the SGF subtotal is $172.2 million in fiscal 23, $87.1 million in 24, $97.1 million in 25. The highway fund is $30.9 million in 23, $9.0 million in 24, $10.0 million in 25. The all funds total is $203.1 million in 23, 96.1 million in '24, and 107.1 million in '25. And I do want to clarify that of that 203.1 million in '23, 191.3 million of that is the estimated, the sales tax estimated payment elimination. So that's, it does have, for profile purposes, that negative fiscal note, but that isn't actually foregone revenue. It's just that that revenue is now going to be 1 month later, forever.
And we knew that that was going to look really ugly in the fiscal note, but it's just shifting it from one 15-day period to the other.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify why that first year jumps out so much.
Yes, thank you. Okay. Madam Chair, I think we have agreement on that.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, absolutely.
Great, thank you. Madam Chair, if we want to turn our attention to 2106, the food sales tax. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the recommendations you made at our last meeting, are any of those official offers at this time, or what are we prepared to make any offers on food sales tax at this point?
I would make another consideration for you guys, I guess, if you want to consider it an offer. Again, I like where you started, but our leadership has some concern on the fiscal note, especially with all these other provisions. You know, that's debatable. With $3 billion increase, we need to show where our priorities are and have it be the taxpayer. We were wondering if you would consider, instead of starting in 2019, which is what you did with the formula, if you would start in 2021, that we kind of meet in the middle on that.
So use 21 as the base year, and would we make any initial cut kind of?
January 1st, 2023, we would make cut. Our concern is the vendors' implementation at this late in time in the day. So we're just asking you for a 6-month delay on implementation, just because of vendors, not
Okay.
for any other reason.
And we had significant discussion on that very item, in-house tax. I can understand that. I know Department of Revenue, I think, said 60 to 90 days for them. Vendors would also need some time to get their systems programmed, obviously.
I do know there's vendors out there still that, you know, they have their cash register reprogrammed. It's not as simple as, you know, the big shops.
Not everybody has the computerized point of sale systems.
Thank you.
That's very, very true.
Yeah.
Yes. I think we will strongly consider that.
Okay.
I want to be sure what your suggestion is on going to 21, because when I came up with that initial rate cut down to 1.5, I kind of pretended like it had been in place in 2019 to make an initial cut, like the $375, $400 million that would have bought the rate down to 1.5. Are you suggesting
That you start that, your same logic in 2021 instead of 2019.
And that's what I would like to see, where that rate would be at, because I think we could be very close on that.
I think so too.
Okay. Let's take a break and
Find out.
see if research can give us those numbers. I know Department of Revenue is very important in calculating those too, so let's see what we can get on numbers. And I know we're back on the floor at 10. We've got 2 CCRs that I know of right now. There might be more. But what time do you want to try to come back?
And just to
10:40?
be clear, both of the equations would eventually take us to zero.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Would 10:45 be attainable?
Um, 10:45.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, Madam Chair, thank you again for your patience. I apologize for being a little bit late. Took a few moments to hit the little boys' room. I think when we left last, we had a recommended offer from the Senate, and research was going to put some numbers together on that. So I wanted to give Eddie a chance to brief the committee on what they had determined.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our understanding of the offer was that it would use the formula provided for in 2019 HB 2033, but it would use fiscal year 2021 actuals as the base amount for compensating use tax receipts, and then it would reduce the food sales tax rate based upon the actual compensating use tax receipts in excess of 3% increase on that fiscal year 2021 actual amount. Based upon that, we would expect an approximate food sales tax rate cut to occur on January 1 of 23, reducing the rate from 6.5% to 4.1%. A second rate cut to occur on January 1 of 24, reducing the rate from 4.1% to 1.0%. And then a third and final rate cut to occur on January 1 of 25, reducing the rate from 1.0% to 0.0%. Our very rough analysis of that in terms of state fiscal impact, and this is all funds numbers, would be a reduction of receipts of $75 million in fiscal year 2023, approximately $275 million in fiscal year 2024, and approximately $450 million in fiscal year 2025. Beginning in fiscal year 2026, it would be the fiscal impact that is projected under the various full elimination immediately sales tax bills.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do you have any questions or thoughts?
Mr. Chairman, I think those numbers look pretty solid, and if we were to start at January 1st, 2023, it would benefit Kansans greatly, as quick as possible, keeping the vendors in consideration, because every year they are going to have to reprogram their machines, which we know that. But I'd also ask that you consider building up to the 18% to hold KDOT as harmless as possible. However, you would see that receptive. As we get to zero, we would like them to get to 18%.
Understandable, and if I remember these numbers are not quite similar, but the House Bill 2711 took that initial cut to, I think it was 3.5, and then the remaining. Do you remember what the 1.2, then 1.2, and then? Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the adjustment was on the state highway fund, but we could easily build that into statute where the initial cut would take it to, I mean, it's 16 point, anybody know what the current state highway fund factor is? 16.61, 16.154. I like nice round numbers, so maybe when that initial cut would happen, we could go to 17, and then when it went all the way to zero, we could go up to 18. Is that kind of what you had in mind?
We were thinking something proportionally. So yes, Mr. Chairman.
Sorry, we were having several different discussions. I like the fact of stepping into the state highway fund. I like nice even numbers. That's the reason I proposed like the 17 and the 18. I don't think we're willing to commit to that offer right now, but it's very favorable. Just to talk about some of the other pieces of this, do you have any preference on what happens or ideas on the existing food sales tax credit? Currently, it's non-refundable. I think it's about $10 million. It's got some fairly strict limitations on who qualifies for it. I know the House position was to make that refundable to try to help those that need it the most, the quickest, but I'd be willing to hear your thoughts on that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've had a goal. When I first started in the legislature, there were 17 refundable programs. We've got that down considerably. I would not like to go in the opposite direction, but we would definitely be receptive to increasing the parameters so that more people qualify, so that maybe we can increase the dollar amount. We would absolutely look at those parameters, expanding the program. Also, Mr. Chairman, I would ask that you would, we would offer that you, once we buy down food, groceries, that's what we're buying down now. I know everybody keeps saying food sales tax. We all understand the terminology that this is groceries. We are buying down groceries. So we would ask that you consider, after that is at zero, that we continue to buy down all food to zero, restaurant food and everything. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And I know we did hear a bill in the House in the House Tax Committee that had that provision in it. Okay, we'll consider that.
Thank you. And it would be using the same equation that we're doing, or we could use a less aggressive equation, but that we eventually get to zero on it also.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Madam Chair, I might be reading my facial expression. I know the hour is late. Would you be willing to give us like 10 minutes to discuss this and come back, or I want to respect everybody's
Absolutely,
time.
Mr. Chairman. And I wondered why you kept looking above my head. There's a clock.
There is.
Thank you. No, 10 minutes is fine.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, thank you for your patience. I think we're getting really close on, getting really close on this. We
Mr.
did-
Chairman, if I may,
Yes, absolutely.
didn't know the House was running on Senate time.
Is that a dig at both the House and the Senate?
It was just some. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And my apologies, sincerely. So we are really close on this. We actually had some discussions on the formula. The information that Mr. Penner had provided us gave us a good idea of what those projections look like. And in order to simplify things for Department of Revenue, rather than making all those calculations every year based on consensus, or the compensating use tax above 3%, the nearest 0.1%, we wondered if you would consider tying the trigger, using the same buy-down procedure, but using the trigger that the House had built into 2711, where as long as there is at least $100 million in the Budget Stabilization Fund, this is the planned schedule to buy that down. And really, the only reason we're doing that is we're trying to simplify things for Department of Revenue, for the vendors that know what that rate is going to go to.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, the only reason I'm cringing is if it's based off the legislator leaving money in a bank account, I have grave concern over that occurring.
Madam Chair, I apologize. The House is on final action right now. Can we step up and vote and come back?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience. House did take final action on several items and adjourned, so we are ready to give our undivided attention completely to this. At this time, House would like to make an offer on the food sales tax package. And the provisions of that offer are an initial rate cut beginning on January 1st of 2023 to 4.0. 1 year after that to 2.0. And 1 year after that to 0. This is not tied to any formula or budget stabilization trigger. Madam Chair, we're putting $500 million in the budget stabilization fund. I think there is security in that for being financially responsible. I know I was visiting a little bit about the formula in 2711, or the trigger in 2711, tying it to that provision, but I think that's extra work that probably isn't necessary. I have full confidence that we will get the state rate to 0. Regarding the state highway fund, I would like to propose that on the initial cut, the state highway fund ratio goes to 17.0 on January 1st, 2023. And then January 1st, 2025, when the food sales tax rate goes completely to 0, the state highway fund ratio would be 18.0. I do want to reiterate that I think there's provisions in statute currently regarding the Washburn sales tax authority. I want to make sure that that's part of the offer. And no changes to the current food sales tax credit program until the January 1st, 2025, when the rate is to 0. Obviously, that program would no longer apply. So that program would be repealed, but at the current point, we would keep that program as is, non-refundable, with the same parameters.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it, especially your diligence for considering all the different scenarios and discussions. It's very difficult under the parameters that we've been given on food sales tax. If you would give us just a couple minutes, Mr. Chairman, we won't even need to leave the room.
Absolutely, I respect that.
If you wouldn't mind, we would like Eddie to give a ballpark on the estimates
Certainly,
so that we know what we're looking at.
absolutely, that's very responsive.
These, I want to clarify again, as I did earlier, these are internal KLRD kind of back of the napkin analysis of what we think. So obviously, these are not the official fiscal impacts, but we think it would be between $75 and $80 million in fiscal '23, approximately $250 million in fiscal '24, approximately $400 million in fiscal '25, and then beginning in fiscal '26, it would be the same number as the bills that you've otherwise seen.
Mr. Chairman, we would be willing to accept your offer. We are going to have to do an agree to disagree.
Madam Chair, we're in uncharted territory. Does that take a motion, or how do we do that process formally?
It does take a motion tomorrow morning. We can have a gentleman's agreement or a ladies' agreement. I don't want to me, it's a generic term in a sense. But yes, we can move forward, and then we would have the motion to agree to disagree, sign the paperwork, and continue to move forward once we have that voted on.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Holland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And to both Madam Chair and Mr. Chairman on the House side and the conference, I really appreciate the work that has been done. I really like the packages we've put together. So I will be rather mute in my disappointment on the sales tax. We know we have the money to do this now. And I do not buy into the argument that we have to wait for months to do programming. I'm disappointed, strongly disappointed, that we were not able to make a significant cut by July 1st of this year. I'm further disappointed that we were not able to eliminate this a year from July 1st. This should be off the books. Now, we have passed some great tax policy in these other bills. And a lot of those fiscal notes take effect July 1st. For the life of me, I can't understand why we aren't able to provide some significant food sales tax relief to Kansas citizens starting July 1st. This is not a technology issue. So I appreciate the committee's good work and everything we've done, and I would have to I would just have to sign the agree disagree, because I don't think, at least in this part, that we have succeeded in putting money back in the Kansas pockets when it comes to food. I mean, to me, we talk about economic development. This is a great way that we could get $500 back into Kansas pockets starting immediately July 1st. This will pay for, things around the house, get a car fixed. Working Kansas need this relief now. I don't think we can afford to put it off till January 1st. Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the committee's indulgence.
Representative Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Madam Chair, conferees. Boy, this has been a long, drawn-out affair over the last 2 days. I came into this session hearing from my constituents, and I've told my House members the biggest item they were wanting me to tackle was get the sales tax on food down to zero. And I tried to do that in House tax, and I was not, of course, successful. It's really disappointing because we have the money, as Senator Holland just talked about, and I've heard, I don't know how many times during the last 2 days, that we ought to be helping out Kansas taxpayers, Madam Chair. And the quickest way to get money into their pockets, is reducing the sales tax on food. More than 2.5% of the first year. Yes, that does save them approximately $180 a year, an average family that pays $600 a month for food. But if we'd go to zero, it would be another additional $288. So we're talking like $468, $470 just boom that they're going to receive back over the next year. I guess that's what I'm disappointed, and I'm also disappointed in, Mr. Chairman, is we had an offer. We presented an offer to the Senate. I believe it was 5% reduction the first year, and 1.5% the second year. We were going to go down to 0 in 2 years, and I don't know where we got off that offer pretty quick, and since the Senate didn't accept it, but this is a long way, Mr. Chairman, from where we started and what our offer was. I still, we're going to give people, Kansas taxpayers, and I think it's good policy, on the 20 mil exemption, which is going to be in a bill, and we're going to give them $46 back, $46. What's that costing? 40-some million dollars, if I remember correctly, $46 million. That's almost another % reduction in the food sales tax. So I don't know. I don't understand totally. I've only been involved in tax 6 years. I guess I need a few more years under my belt to understand what the heck's going on. I think we're missing the boat totally. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I will not be signing the conference committee report. Thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to respond, if I may. There were some accusations about the Senate not accepting the House tax position on sales tax. But I would remind the good representative that they did not accept the Senate position for property tax. It would have been more than $46. It would have been $46 times 3, over almost $150 per household on property tax. We had a standard deduction decrease of 10%, which would have been a $31 million fiscal note. It would have increased the individual deduction to over $4,000. The merit filing jointly would have been from $8,000 to $10,000. We have made considerable progress in negotiations, and I just appreciate all the work that the House and the Senate has put forth this session. And I know we're ending on a not as high of note as we would like to, but we have some very good tax policy that this conference committee has worked diligently in the last couple days to put together. So I appreciate your offer, Mr. Chairman. We accept it wholeheartedly, and we're anxious if the revenues continue up as we anticipate they will, then we can revisit this number. This number can be revisited by the legislature next year. And I would also remind the body that we were told last year a $90 million fiscal note that we passed in Senate Bill 50 was reckless. Boy, has the tone changed this year. I think we are being very diligent and very respectful and trying to get back as much as we possibly can to the Kansas taxpayers. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, everybody, for your work. The hour is late. The day has been long. I know a couple of us have not eaten lunch or supper, and I look forward to seeing you in the morning. What time do you want to get back together?
We go on the floor at 10. We will have to do the motion to agree to disagree. And let's go ahead and set the conference committee for 11, if that's acceptable to the Senate.
Adam?
I just want to say procedurally, there will actually need to be a formal, I'll have to draft a motion or agree to disagree motion. So it will be, it's filed just like a normal report would be filed. So It's a piece of paper, signed by the parties.
We need to sign it before 10, that way we can make the motions across the floor as soon as possible.
Have to run in the Senate first, excuse me, then on the House,
Okay,
like a normal conference committee report would.
okay.
If we could meet at 9:45 to sign the agree to disagree, then we could run them when we gavel in at 10.
Okay. Do we want to meet down in the revisor's office, conference room? Is that the easiest place to assemble?
On the floor, I think, that way.
I just need to get signatures, so it really wouldn't be a true meeting.
Okay.
For meeting purposes. I will contact you individually in the morning, just so we don't have any sort of formal meeting.
Okay, that sounds good. Yes. Madam Chair, I just want to take a moment and echo your comments. It pains me that we're ending on a bad note here. That's not what I wanted to happen, but I don't want to take that away. This conference committee and all the people that have been involved, from staff to legislators, we have put in a tremendous amount of work. I don't know that this much work has been done in a 48-hour period in conference before. I want to thank everyone for all of their efforts, all of their input, the back and forth. There was a lot of horse trading going on, and I think we came up with very, very good tax policy. And I just ask that everyone go home and get some good sleep. Let's not linger on the way this ended. I consider all of you friends, good friends, and I want to remember the good legislation that we're getting passed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I understand the zero isn't right away, but we are getting to zero, and that is a win for all of us.
I would agree.
Thank you.
With that, thank you, everyone, and we are adjourned.